afternoon. My name's Alexandra Zimbatu, and my project looks at how transformative experiences can be collaboratively designed for a service organisation. Doing so specifically within the context of higher education. Higher education and university life has often been romanticised and idealised as being a period of intense transformation, liberation and discovery of self. They're really meant to represent the golden years of someone's life, but really what we're seeing is that our students are hardly interacting with their peers and with their campus, and they're actually citing things like boredom and the lack of interest as amongst the most important reasons that they would actually consider early departure from university life. So that fact alone, paired with the increasingly competitive knowledge market, so we're really seeing a growth in micro-credential and e-learning platforms, really suggests that the university must innovate to once again maintain and establish its epistemic authority within society. However, we don't really know too much about how we can actually design and embed transformative experiences within an extended service encounter, as most explorations have been really within short-term contexts like festival experiences and tourism. Additionally, we don't really know too much about how to actually engage these collaborators within such risk-averse and pragmatic environments in concept generation, techniques and innovation. So really, what this research looks at is essentially two different bags of worms. We're looking at experiences and their design, as well as innovation, creativity and problem solving. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about experience design to start us off, and that really reflects the ideas propelled forward by Pine and Gilmore in their experience economy. So that suggests that consumers are no longer seeking just products, but they're actually seeking long-lasting meaning and memories. And more recently, they're actually seeking to become transformed in some fundamental and long-lasting way. And they're actually willing to outsource that transformation and that reinvention process to an organisation, really engaging with that organisation just with that intention of experiencing that change. So experience design is the idea that a service organisation can intentionally manipulate both its tangible and intangible service elements to actually elicit those reactions within their customers. So it's worth noting that there are different kinds of experiences, and it's more than just adding a nice little adjective in front of the word experience, but rather it's based on the amount of conscious attention or engagement that they actually demand. So that's from something like a prosaic experience where you really run on autopilot all the way to something that's really transformative. So it really reframes your worldviews and who you take yourself to be because of that exposure to a new epistemic knowledge as well as personal knowledge. So for all the economists in the room, that really speaks to System 1 and System 2 thinking. And as we can see, transformative experiences really require a lot more energy, but they also have a far higher impact on the customers. That's great to hear that so many people want to enter the transformation economy, but we do run into several key challenges. Particularly, they are ineffable and they are subjective. So what might be transformative for one person isn't necessarily so for another. So how can an organisation actually standardise that, or is that even something that they can actually promote? Additionally, for the consumer, transformative experiences pose a major challenge to rational decision making, given that they won't actually know what their future self and their future preferences will actually be like until having undergone the experience itself. And we're also dealing with both the rosy view and the peak-end rule in that evaluation of the experience. So that anticipation is often more positive than the actual experience itself. So it kind of begs the question if we can ever actually guarantee student satisfaction in the first place. And the peak-end rule is something that the university does take into account probably a little bit too much, given that they really emphasise the transition in activities. And really we see that transition out and really the big bang events, really that celebration and the ceremoniality related to graduation. However, what we really need are the experiences in between. We really need opportunities for transformation to be embedded within that extended service encounter. And that would actually allow us to take the rosy view to our advantage and allow our students to positively anticipate more opportunities for transformation within their extended experience. So while those are the challenges that any service organisation really seeking to design transformative opportunities faces, the university faces its unique set of challenges, particularly given their highly risk-averse environment and really that favouring of the status quo. Another thing that we're really seeing is that the university tends to design for rather than with and alongside its stakeholders. And it's also unique given that it's a service experience that spans over multiple years and social spheres. So there's not really too many other services that you engage with for 3 to even 6, or like us, many of us here, for more years. So what this research really seeks to do is to encourage different kinds of collaborators from the broader university ecosystem to reimagine the institution and to actually guide them in that ideation process. But really what that means is that if we want people like students, senior stakeholders, academics from disciplines like STEM as well as creative industries, we need to figure out a way to frame this very ineffable and indescribable design task in a way that can support both our rational and our vertical thinkers, as well as our more creative types within that ideation and that concept generation process. And the way that we're seeking to do so, we'll be running 3 different design workshops in early March, and we're looking at framing the design task in 3 different ways. So we've mapped this against our continuum of realism, so how realistic these approaches actually are to the tangible elements. So in something we called experience design thinking, we're asking our collaborators to speak in terms of concrete processes. So we're asking them to design for the university as an institution. And then moving along, we're using another creative approach called analogical reasoning, which asks participants to take a source domain and essentially extrapolate its elements into the target domain. So that's using something called structure mapping theory. And in this context, we're asking them to take that from the field of tourism and essentially take concepts from the tourist experience and apply them to the university context to make it more transformative. And then lastly, we're using something that's a bit more abstract. So this one's definitely going to challenge some of our more quantitative thinkers amongst us, but we are asking our collaborators to use narrative storytelling and Joseph Campbell's monomyth stages to redesign the university experience using the hero's journey stages. And that one really follows a rite of passage formula as somebody separates from the world that they know and essentially faces a road of trials, finds their allies, and returns back to the world changed in some fundamental way. So all of these 3 workshops, they do all follow a very common structure, but they just manifest, the way these different activities manifest is just based on their creative approach. And they are all underpinned by the customer experience dimensions. So I suppose acknowledging that we do have those 2 components of the research, how we're actually going to evaluate this study is both how well the concept generation approaches actually guided our collaborators in their processes. So we'll be looking at conducting a series of semi-structured interviews to evaluate the effectiveness of each workshop for that concept generation, as well as actually analysing each of the experience concepts created from those workshops. And that's looking at our conceptualisation of a transformative experience as being composed of something that involves strong emotions, discovery of insights, and change in values, self-perceptions and beliefs, as well as things like group identity. We know that spontaneity and even things like unity with nature are quite transformative triggers. So in doing so, we're really hoping to deliver or develop a more holistic picture of what a transformative experience actually is, given that the majority of the exploration has remained within the field of existential philosophy. So we're really moving that more so into a practical design of transformative experiences and the embedding of such experiences within extended service encounters. And really, in doing so, we can once again make the university help somebody find themselves, whatever that may mean to them. Thank you very much.